You'd think we would have noticed the signs, the way the lights in the Ferris wheel flickered like a dying heartbeat, or how the carnival barkers watched us a little too closely, like vultures watching something crawl toward death. But we were high on summer and funnel cake and the kind of invincibility that only really stupid teenagers feel. There were 4 of us: me, Rachel, my best friend, Caleb, who always smelled like motor oil and bad decisions, and Sasha, whose voice could make you believe anything. We were all 17 and stupid, driving around rural Pennsylvania in Caleb's truck when we saw the faded banner. Carnival Nocturna, 1 night only. It was set up behind an abandoned shopping center. You could barely see the rides over the weed-choked chain-link fence, but we could hear the music, slow and out of tune. It was already getting dark. "Creepy as hell," Sasha said. "Exactly glad we have to go," Caleb grinned, already pulling in. The parking lot was full, but strangely quiet. No kids screaming, no loud announcements, just a weird music leaking into our ears like smoke. We paid cash at the ticket booth. The guy behind the glass had eyes that didn't match. One brown, one pale blue, and he never blinked, not once, while he talked. "Enjoy the midway," he rasped. We walked through the rustling turnstile, and the moment we crossed over, it felt colder. Not just cooler air, but like something in the temperature of the world had shifted. I swear I saw the shadows behind the cotton candy stand twitch. At first, it was fun. We rode the tilt-a-whirl, screamed our heads off on the rickety coaster, and threw rings at old glass bottles for stuffed animals that had looked like they'd been dead for a while. But then, little things started happening. At the shooting gallery, Caleb swore the carny behind the counter whispered his full name. Not just Caleb, but his last name too, like the man had known him for years. Rachel tried to get a Keeney the apple, and the woman running the stand grinned with a mouthful of wooden teeth, then offered her one for free. The apple was bleeding. I'm not kidding. It was leaking this dark red syrup that smelled like pennies and rot. She dropped it and walked away without saying a word. We all wanted to leave after that, but the exit we came through was gone. I mean, gone. The booth, the fence, even the parking lot. There was just more tents and booths where it all used to be. "There must be another exit," Sasha said, her voice wavering. So we kept walking, and that's when we started noticing the workers. They were following us, not all together, but one would be behind us, sweeping the empty ground with a broom. Another would be pushing a cart of popcorn that no one was eating. A third would just be standing still, always in our periphery. And then they were all smiling, too wide, too long, like their jaws were unhinged. We tried asking for help. "Where's the exit? How do we get out?" But they'd only say, "It's not time yet," or worse, "You're not done playing." We stopped at a mirror maze, hoping to lose whoever was following us. Inside, it was deathly quiet. No reflections, though, just panes of glass that showed other things. Not us, not the present. One showed my bedroom, empty. Another showed a basement that I didn't recognize, with chains hanging from the ceiling and a single flickering bulb. One showed Sasha crying, alone, with blood on her hands. We ran out before seeing more. That's when Rachel disappeared. We were walking past the fortune teller's tent, and she was just gone. 1 second beside me, the next, nothing. No screams, no footsteps, just silence. We called her name, searched every tent, and begged every carny. They all said the same thing. She's inside now. She's part of the show. Caleb snapped. He punched a clown that was blocking our path. The clown didn't move, didn't even blink, just stared as blood leaked from his painted-on smile. We found Rachel's phone near the house of mirrors, cracked and sticky with something black. Sasha wanted to split up. I screamed at her not to, but she ran anyway. She didn't get 10 feet before a curtain opened beside her and 2 carnies pulled her inside. I ran to help, but by the time that I reached it, the curtain just led to an empty tent. I was alone. The music changed then. It was louder, more frantic, like a heartbeat racing toward a heart attack. Lights flickered. I turned in a circle and saw them. All of them, watching me. The carnies standing still at every booth, every ride, every food stand. And they started walking. I ran, down the midway, past the games, past the rides. The Ferris wheel started turning on its own, creaking like something in pain. I tripped and crawled behind a ticket booth, pressing my hand over my mouth to stay quiet. I could hear them, whispers, footsteps, dragging sounds, and breathing. Wet, raspy, like someone with lungs full of water. Someone walked past the booth. I saw their feet, bare, dirty, toenails cracked like old paint. They were humming the carnival tune. I don't know how long I stayed there. Hours maybe. But eventually, the music stopped. When I peeked out, it was morning. The midway was empty. No rides, no booths, no lights. Just a cracked parking lot and a faded banner that was peeling off the chain link fence. I stumbled to the road and found a gas station a few miles down. They called the cops. They never found Caleb, Rachel, or Sasha. Never found the carnival either. No one believes me. They said it was a breakdown, shock, a hallucination. But I know what I saw. And sometimes, late at night, I still hear the music. Faint, calling, waiting. And I know someday soon, it's going to come back. I should have known better than to get on the haunted house ride. The whole thing had that weird old carnival vibe. Too much creaking, too much dust, too many wide-eyed animatronics. But my friends dared me, and like an idiot, I got on the rickety cart alone. "This is nothing," I muttered as the ride jerked into motion. The thick thunder rolled overhead, and a mechanical witch cackled near the entrance. I smirked. Her jaw clicked on a loop, too fast and not in sync with her voice. Weak. The cart rolled into the first dark corridor. Cobwebs brushed my face. Real ones, I think. The air smelled like mildew and old wood, thick and damp. Figures loomed in the shadows. A headless bride, a bloody butcher, a girl in a rocking chair humming a lullaby. Their eyes glowed red, but they didn't move. Then, the cart shuddered and stopped. I waited. A whole minute passed. 2 even. I looked around, expecting a voice on the intercom. "Apologies for the delay. We'll be moving again shortly." But nothing. Just a low hum of unseen machinery. Then, the lights cut out entirely. Total black. The air shifted. Heavier now. Closer. My breath taut in my throat. I reached for my phone to turn on the flashlight, but just as I got it out, the lights flickered back on, dim and red, like emergency backup lights. And something was different. The girl in the rocking chair was gone. I sat frozen, staring at the empty chair, still rocking gently with nobody in it. Then, behind me, a creak, slow and deliberate. I turned. The girl was standing by the cart, her face, too real, pale skin stretched thin, black hair hanging, wet and stringy over her shoulders. Her eyes were bottomless pits, and she was smiling, wide, unnaturally. I screamed and scrambled out of the cart. My phone slipped from my hand and skidded across the floor. I dilled after it, not daring to look back, and bolted through the only visible hallway. The emergency lights glowed faintly on the walls, just enough to see shapes, shifting, twitching. Decorations, that's what I kept telling myself, just props. But props don't whisper, they don't breathe, they don't follow you. I ran through a kitchen scene, plastic meat hooked to the ceiling, a fake chef mannequin with a cleaver mid-swing, except he turned his head as I passed. The cleaver scraped the counter behind me. Nope, 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 nope. I quickly ducked under a dangling pig carcass and stumbled into the parlor. A gramophone was playing warped old music, scratchy and slowed down like a dying music box. Sitting in the velvet chairs around me were mannequins in Victorian clothes. They twitched. One turned its head. Another started to stand up, stiff and jerky, like something winding up inside of it. I just ran. Another hallway, a mirror main section. My own panic reflection stared back 100 times, but then one of them wasn't me. It wore my clothes, had my face, but it smiled when I wasn't. Its eyes were leaking black tears. I punched the glass and ran left, then right. Dead end. Turned around. Another dead end. No. It was moving. The walls were changing, reshaping, and sealing me in. "Let me out!" I yelled, a slamming fist into the wall. A voice behind me whispered, "You shouldn't have come alone." I turned slowly. The girl again, her mouth open far too wide, wider, cracking at the edges. A hand shot out of the wall and grabbed my arm. I screamed, pulled, kicked, managed to wrench free, leaving behind a piece of my jacket. The wall pulsed where the hand had come from, like it was breathing. I found a door, pushed it open, and fell through into the stairwell. Concrete, finally. Real. I slammed the door behind me and leaned against it, panting. Silence. Maybe I made it to the maintenance area. I climbed the stairs, One flight, then another. There was a door at the top labeled Exit. I almost cried. I pushed through, but it wasn't outside. It was the attic. Dust everywhere, covered furniture, and a dollhouse in the corner that looked just like the ride. I walked towards it, trembling, and I looked inside. Inside the dollhouse was a tiny figure, in a tiny cart that looked just like me. I turned around. The girl was there again, closer this time. She held my phone. It was lit up, playing a video. It was me, getting on the ride. Then it kept going. I watched myself disappear into the darkness, but the footage didn't stop. I watched myself scream, run, stumble through every scene, even here, to the attic. The last clip showed her standing behind me, exactly as she is now. I looked up from the screen. She whispered, "You belong to the house now." The attic door slammed shut. Everything went dark. I don't know how long I've been here. My phone doesn't work anymore, and time has frozen. I tried to leave through the door. It leads to another hallway now. The girl's always there, or the chef, or the mannequins. Sometimes the picture, sometimes my reflection. They don't let me leave. They're part of the ride, and now, so am I. You ever get that feeling when your gut tells you to turn around? I did, and I should have listened. I really should have listened. It started as a dumb idea. My friend Cam thought it'd be cool to sneak into Morrow Park after hours. Urban exploration, he said, like a horror movie without the horror. He grinned like he was auditioning to be the first guy killed in the slasher film. There were 5 of us. Me, Cam, Jess, Milo, and Dee. We'd all grown up with Morrow Park. It was our childhood. Funnel cakes, spinning rides, and those freaky lifelike statues that are scattered around the park. Cowboys, pirates, clowns, always weirdly detailed, like they were cast from real people. The place shut down 2 years ago. Some kind of freak accident. A kid went missing, and they just never found him. Rumors started. Curses, rituals, satanic panic. Typical small-town lore. But Morrow Park sat there ever since, silent and rotting behind its rusty gates. Cam found a hole in the fence near the back. We slipped through, one by one, flashlights flickering on, and the scent of stale popcorn and mildew hit us like a wall. The silence was thick. Even the insects were quiet. It didn't feel abandoned. It felt paused, but something was waiting. We joked on our way in. Jess climbed the old carousel and pretended to ride the horse with the snarling face. Milo lit up a joint. Dee kept looking around, clearly spooked, but she stuck close to me. I liked that. I always liked Dee. Then Cam found the control booth. "Let's fire this baby up," he laughed, flipping a few switches like he knew what he was doing. The carousel lights blinked to life. The music, warped and dragging, started playing in slow, moaning waltz notes. A few other lights around the park buzzed on, casting long, unnatural shadows over the statues. That's when we heard the grinding sound. We turned. One of the cowboy statues had moved, just slightly. His head, which had been tilted left, now faced forward. "Nope," Dee muttered, backing away. "It must have been like that already," Milo said, though he didn't sound too confident. Then, the clown statue's arm moved, and we all saw it. The flashlight beams jittered as we whipped them around. The pirate statue was now halfway down the path from where it had been. I know, because I remembered the pirate on his shoulder. Now it was eye level with me. "They're moving," Jess said in a whisper, voice trembling. "No shit, here they are," Cam said, stepping back. "Maybe it's animatronics, old wiring?" Then the cowboy took a full step. His boots scraped against the concrete like sandpaper. I could hear it, that horrible dry grind. I watched, frozen, as his stone face slowly twisted into a grin. We ran. No plan, just pure instinct. I grabbed his hand, and we bolted past the carousel, down toward the funhouse. The music still played, slower now, notes bending like a broken record. Behind us, I heard a crash, something heavy toppling over. Jess just screamed. We regrouped near the funhouse mirrors. Jess had a cut on her cheek. Milo was pale, eyes wide. "Cam," he gasped. "Cam didn't make it." "What?" I snapped. He tripped. The clown. It grabbed him. "No," Dee whispered. "No, no, no." We heard laughter, slow, crackling, and hollow. The clown statue emerged from the shadows, dragging something behind it. It was Cam's flashlight, but just a flashlight. We ran into the funhouse. The mirrors twisted our reflections into long, nightmarish shapes. But worse, they didn't match our movements. In one, I saw myself with no eyes. In another, Dee's snout stretched impossibly wide, but she was screaming even though she wasn't. Statues didn't belong in here, but they were. One of the jesters, mirror-faced, stood at the exit. I don't know how it got in so fast. It tilted its head at us and stepped forward, its foot cracking the tiles. "This way," Jess yelled, ticking through one of the funhouse panels. We tumbled out into the kiddie ride area. "I think they're getting faster," Milo panted. "They're hunting us," I said. "They're hurting us." We tried to exit the gate. It was chained shut. Dee and I were out of it. Pushed, kicked, nothing. "This is a security office," Jess said. "End of the main drag. There might be radios or keys." We sprinted. Statues watched us from every corner. Ones I didn't remember. A ballerina on a fountain had blood on her. The pirate was back now, missing an eye. I turned around once and saw Milo fall. The cowboy had caught him. It pulled him up by the neck like he weighed nothing. We didn't stop. The office door was open. We slammed it shut behind us and jammed a chair under the handle. Inside, monitors flickered, static. Then one came to life. The camera showed the center of the park, the carousel. Cam was there, standing, unmoving, his skin gray and cracking. "No," Jess said. "They're turning us into them." I looked out the window. The statues were coming, slow but relentless. "We have to break the curse," Dee said suddenly. "The accident, the kid. I remember hearing something. A ritual. People said they used him." "Urban legends," Jess said. "That's not real. Everything here is supposed to be fake," I snapped, "and it's still trying to kill us." There was a box in the corner, lost and found. Inside, beneath some old plushies, I found a journal. It belonged to the park's founder, Howard Morrow. Entries dated 2 years back. He talked about living art, about sacrifice, about binding souls into stone so they'd never decay. The final entry said, 5 souls to awaken the park, 1 child, 4 wanderers. My blood ran cold. "That's it," Dee said. "We're the 4. "They're not just statues," I said. "They're vessels." The door began to creak. Stone fingers pried it open. "We have to destroy the heart," Dee said. "Where it started, the carousel." We made a run for it. The carousel lights flickered like eyes watching us. In the center, beneath the ride, we found it. A pulsing red stone embedded in the base. Jess screamed as the clown reached for her, but I grabbed a crowbar from the maintenance bench and swung. The stone cracked. A horrible sound erupted, like all the strings of all the statues at once. They froze. One by one, they turned to dust. It was sunrise when we crawled out of Mara Park. Jess was still bleeding, Dee was shaking, and I couldn't stop looking at the rising sun like it might turn into another statue. They never found Cam or Milo. The police chalked it up through a break-in gone wrong. But sometimes, when I pass the ruins, I swear I see them. Not Cam or Milo, the cowboy and the clown. And they smile at me.